Opa! Hey, it's March the 15th. How are we doing? Thank you for already pre-warming the pews there, as it is. The digital seats. We got a uniquely titled cast here, Order Chaos, Life and Death. I thought I'd step out of the realm and get some of these, I don't know, sacred, ancient, secret notes that are from history, life. The words that I've used in here are from Egypt and Egyptology. Um, I'm going to read something that I found when I was looking at the Kabbalion, the hymns of Hermes. After, well, Egyptian is after the Zoroastrianism, Sumer, Canaanites, Babylon, and so forth. So this is an interpretation, remembering that the Romans, you know, came and said hello to the Egyptians and kind of banished them from the lands of. So uh, I just thought I'd take a moment out on this Sunday to find these notes, change the mood, take your mind off certain avenues. It's an interesting read. It's a lovely story. I have got some other notes about Egyptians and worship and so forth, so I'm not here to go pro-Egyptian. We have obelisks in London City, Washington, DC, Columbia, and the Vatican. We have Egyptian blood running through man's veins on this landmass. Princess Scotia, banished Nubian princess there, going to northern Anglo-Saxon Britain's territories and Scotia. So we've covered quite a lot on this, and as I say, I just thought, in light of this story, okay, it's got many depths. It is taken out of context in the realm that I'm coming on a Sunday and saying, what, hello. We're going back to the beginning. In the beginning, there was Jack. Jack is a voltage, you know, jack your system, jack your body. And it's just an interpretation. So when you hear these words and this story, like when here and yeah, just think laterally and think broad, okay? So I'll say hello to the scribes. We'll see who's in. Welcome, hello, thank you. URC, very much looking forward to this, thank you. Benjamin, I love the way Indy connects dots and patterns. I do it with your help and assistance, so thank you, much love, and I'll try my best not to disappoint. The sky clock is cleansing the crap of the world and our guts. Benjamin, can't fault you with that comment. Maybe a top comment right there. As above, so below, as within, so without. Indeedy. Hermetic principality, principles. Here we go. Freeman, good afternoon. Noon is the word of the cast, all right? Nun, N-U-N, and noon, N-O-O-N. Think of that. Good afternoon, afternoon. So noon, if it's afternoon, then noon must have preceded after. To be after is to be after it. So something's happened before for this to be after. Get me? So, oh wow, when you try to explain simple things, Dave, that's when you lose everybody. I know. So in the morning, it's probably noontime, because if the after is afternoon, good afternoon, you know, stay with me. All right, and I'm gonna have said hello, Tommy. Nice one, rock on. Good day, good tidings, good rising, realm wide. Much love to you all. Craig and Williams. The Lord said nothing good come from Egypt. I can't reference and citate exactly that, but what I will say is Egypt is a Greek spelling, and Acropolis, Greek, Egypt, Poseidon, certain words and spellings. Egypt, alchemy, chemist, chemistry. Egypt is not, when I use the word Egypt in this reading, I'm really referring to chem and alchemy. Yes, sorry, much love. Back at you all. Fly, hello. We're really doing it. We're doing it. Welcome, hello. Get a drink, sit back, everyone. I've got a story for you, and I've printed it. It's going to be made into a PDF. It's got pictures, sources, references, the full shebang. You want to see? It's turned up the love to 11. Nice one. Thank you. I'm basking in it. We're all basking in it. Let's go. I got you. Your calling is pronounced like jerk without the J. Irk. Oh, Irk, Childs. Gotcha. URC. Irk. Gotcha. Now then, Irk. Copyright. Locally embedded agents, trills, and tube security. Copyright. Chill out piano music. Okay. Let's begin. In the beginning, there was only the nun. The nun was dark and sinuous. It lacked both shape and force. It could be compared to a silent vibration that was static and stuck in repose instead of locomotion. Deep inside the nun, there was a desire to remain as it was, free from the responsibility and troubles of physical existence. Yet there was also a longing, a will to create a physical world and then to watch it grow. The conflict of the intentions within the nun had kept the nun from taking any action. A figure of 8 loop was going off here, energetically wise, and then the nun decided to take action. And until the nun decided to take action, this you and I verse was not allowed to experience what we know as Genesis. Okay, this intellectual quandary of remaining as an unmanifested form of chaos or changing into a manifestation of order was the intrinsic struggle that predates all of creation. As long as the nun remained as one pool of dark nothingness, no compromise to its dilemma of remaining as chaos or turning into order would ever be resolved. Some have said that the dark waters of the nun were originally catatonic. Cat there, remember the cats, Egyptians, cat. Consciousness, the mind of the universe was silently sleeping in a deep, dreamless slumber. And then it somehow awoke, and with its awakening came the first semblance of any activity on the entire universe. This first thought, now this first, I've put thought, but I've put thoth before it. You spell thoth, thoth, T-H-O-T-H. You spell thought, T-H-O-U-G-T-H. H-T, G-H-T. How do we spell thought? T-H-O-U-G-H-T. All right, too many T's in here. Fancy a brew. So, thoth, add a U and a G. Well, U is you and I, and G is the 7 godlike letter. So, thoth, add U and G would make thought. Thought, thoth, and thought. Just hold that, pin it as we go along. So, it somehow awoke, and with its awakening came the first semblance of activity on the entire universe. The very first thought unleashed the mental activity of what can only be compared to God, the Creator. This first thought would be the seed that planted every subsequent thought that would ever follow. All the ideas of the gods who operated under the presidency of Nun. The first thought, as well as the thoughts of every beast and human, only be grosser reflections of God's first moments of awareness. All is from one atom. When the nun awoke, it recognized that it was suffering a dissonance. A part of it wanted to remain as the unmanifested chaos that it was, while another part wanted to break free from the shackles of being not uniform and create some divine order. To reconcile its internal conflict of interests, the nun broke itself into several different separate pieces. When we look at this and examine it, we say maybe that was God's method of performing psychological reflection of itself. And this was called APEP, APEP, Alpha Papa, Echo Papa, APEP. Like the chaos that had manifested it, APEP was sinuous and silent. Apep had been called the great snake that can encircle all of reality. So when I say snakes and cosmic snakes, and I know the Roman translation of the snake, the lowest belly of, and making it low, but just broaden your minds and enjoy the ride. Apep with living chaos. Apep had no limits. Apep was the first alleged vibratory form. Apep was the limitless, the beginning in Genesis. So it's not exactly the first original writing of. It's just an interesting examination, and to take your mind off the news and everything. I'm here with a bit of order and chaos. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So just enjoy, and we'll reflect at the end of the reading. Chaos, none, was to have no shape, yet it had taken the form of a pep, and a pep was the living chaos that was to remain formless. Without realizing it, a pep was an enemy to itself. Simply by existing, a pep had broken its own intrinsic rule of remaining chaotic. I'll go into the rule of physics and the universe starting by a big bang and something being created by nothing, the intrinsic rule of physics that can be, so we got some parallels and some depth to go through these little passages that I'm reading you. So make some notes, what grabs you and what you think, and I want to hear the rebound later, all right? Apep's manifestation was the first action of order, and more order had to emit forth. More orders started to rise out of the living chaos of Apep, the child of Nun, the second wave of the order, wow, indeed orders, but still, was Atum, also known as Amon, Amen, and many other titles, as in at the end of the prayer, Amen, Amen Ra. What was originally only one in the form of the nun, the first took shape as a pep, then Atum was born, and the one thing become more than one. Silent yet able to communicate, Atum and Apep observed each other, and they had each a universal awareness that was expanding further. Consciousness expanding, Christ-like consciousness. Echo those words that we've brought to you, okay? Chaos observed order, and order was observing chaos. Order, Atom, knew it was born out of, not birthed, born out of chaos, and desired more freedom. Shackled and chained, bonded and slaved, look. Atom had the will to separate from the chaos of the nun and Apep. Apep knew that if he swam deeper into the nun, then he would spread more order and slowly eradicate chaos, as if it were to happen. If chaos were to be completely erased, then the order would organize and grow endlessly, infinitely, infinitely. If chaos were to be completely usurped, that's right, usurped, the nun and Apep would no longer exist. If none were to be overthrown, then reality would have no substance to build upon, because the substance was none itself. Not non, N-O-N-E, N-U-N, N-U-N-E, N-O-O-N. Noon, like moon, but with a N, not a M. Mikey. Apep, the wise serpent, knew that chaos could exist without order, as it had done before, but the order could not exist without chaos. What is this? What order? What kind of order? There's a new order, a reset coming, fam, and I just thought this is the time for me to bring out this little unique antiquity. For the universe to remain existent, it would either have to be a perfect balance of order and chaos, or it would have to be entirely chaotic. Order fraught to break away from the chaos, and the chaos demanded to restrain the order. Both desired to counter and control the other. Thus, the endless battle of good and evil has indeed begun. Apep wrapped its coils around Atum. Atum's boundless will struggled to be released from the eternal clutches of Apep. Apep covered Atum until he disappeared and was seemingly swallowed back into the dark, watery chaos. They had been joined together again. Despite Atom's process to explore and experiment with the forces of creation themselves, it seemed as if Apep had indeed won this battle. The war was still on. The order was pinned down, while uniformed chaos would remain. Your unformed chaos would remain, not uniformed. Yet, because of the nun that had already created Apep and Atom, the force of time now had already begun in motion, locomotion. When Apep swallowed Atom, it was already too late to stop the divine and cosmic scheme of creation. Tick tock. Get yourself some metronome there to the piano. Here we go, motion and time. Let's do the locomotion like we did with Kylie, but this time it means something, alright? You're going to learn. While Atom struggled to be released from Apep, and while Apep held tightly to Atom, chaos and order were indeed mingling. Out of this struggle between orderly good and chaotic evil, the universe would rise. The nun that had originally created Apep, then Atom, would never ever be going away. Nun is the very substrate that all matter would be built from. The eternal struggle between order and chaos would continue to produce more order and then produce an equal amount of chaos. Alchemy, the law of equal exchange, I bring to you there. To keep the order in check, the stars, planets, entire galaxies, and every life form that would roam these galaxies would never be anything more than chess pieces in a tug of war in this battle between order and chaos. There was only Atum wrapped up in the coils of Apep. The constant between the two remained in a stalemate for unknown millennia. Atum was the god of creation, and his only equal was Apep, the god of chaos. Being equals, it was not possible for one to overpower the other directly. Before Nun had spawned Apep, there was nothing else to compare chaos with, and thus chaos was perfect by the very proxy of it. Then Atum arose and had a strong desire to will order into chaos. This change in and of dynamics started to scare Apep. So Apep wrapped its coils around Atum and held on for dear life because it had a fear of the unknown. Yes, although one could not overpower the other, Apep had a stronger ability to bind, shackle, and bond things down and keep them the same, while Atom had a stronger ability to set things in motion and induce cosmic, mental, alchemic changes. Somehow, Atom defeated Apep's shackles and freed himself from Apep. Atom knew that complete separation from the nun was indeed possible. If enough of the order could arrange into a manifested physical reality, then the nun would be too preoccupied to swallow Atom again. During Atom's few, I see the old distraction method, okay, the pincer movement. During Atom's first moments of freedom, it silently spoke into the. It silently spoke. I know that's what I've written into the waters of the Nun. Arise, Shu, Shu. Then the principles of the air was indeed created and born. Shu the air was the first child of Atum. Shu was inactive at birth, for there was nowhere yet to place air, but he had still been manifested into reality. Then Atum spoke into the nun again. Arise, Tefnut. Then the principle of moisture came into existence. Like Shu, Tefnut's on the icon, I do believe, if I've got it right. That's who Tefnut is, with the star on his head. Principle of moisture. Okay? Like Shu, there was nowhere to place the moisture. Both Shu and Tefnut were with function but without purpose. They also were dubbed by Atum the intrinsic principle of gender. When combined together, Shu was the masculine, Tefnut is or was the feminine. Atum knew that if he could place for the masculine and feminine to interact and develop a relationship, he's gonna, he knew if he could find a place for the masculine and feminine to interact and develop a relationship, they would continue to give rise to even more order. The only issue was that they needed a place to work their magic of integration, and nothing besides themselves was yet developed in the universe. There's a bit of a quandary there, then, isn't there? Atum told Shu and Tefnut to go and find a place where they could claim a domain as their home, and then from there they were to interact and develop more order and physical formations. Stake your claim, my children, my assets and sired ones, yeah? Tefnut and Shu, they left Atum to go and prepare and explore the vast infinity of the Nun. Yet they strayed too far away and not only failed to find a home in the Nun, but also, eventually, they become lost. Atum was alone in the waters of the Nun. The waters, so that's the seas or the waters of the Nun. The Nun, we're going to explain later, is coming along what the Nun is. I hope you've got an idea of what the Nun would be. I can see your comments, but I shall not avert my eyes. His children had gone off to begin the mission of creation they had taken too long. While Atum was waiting for them, he could feel the coils of a pet rise up now and then in an attempt to try to reduce him back to nothingness. He also began to miss his son and daughter. And not wanting to wait any longer, he decided to investigate where Shu and Tefnut had gone off to, why they had taken so long. Atum lacked a concrete physical form. In my opinion, he was like a plasma kind of, in this realm, but not tangible. There are stories of those in the creational period without bodies, and I won't go into that now, but he had an essence to him, all right, that can be equated to an eye. This eye of Atum, if he willed it, could see and know everything that was to happen and be happening in the Nun. So he's out of time and space here, and he's got an ability to see all. To fully utilise his eye's power, though, he had to separate it from himself. Okay, I can see that being a little bit of a problem. So he sent his eye out to find Shu and Tefnut. Atum's eye contained all the constituents of the feminine principles. His eye, for lack of more accurate terms to describe it, to define the god of Atum's caliber, it would be female, alright? She wandered the waters of the Nun until she located Shu and Tefnut. And Shu and Tefnut had coiled, joined as one together, as one force when the eye of Atum found them. They were scared, too scared to separate from each other, and the fear they shared, as well as not being able to find a suitable home within their vibratory capacity in the frequency, resonant modulation, harmonics of. Okay, when the eye found them, she told them to abstain from fear and to follow her, to lead them like an exodus, as the indentured slaves out of, and abstain from fear and follow her back to Atum. Shu and Tefnut freely, without doubt, unequivocally submitted to the eye and returned, submitted, that's a key word, to the eye, and decided to return back to Atum. While Atum's eye was gone again. If Atum was retaken by a pep, Shu, Tefnut and his eye would all vanish as well, instantly. So Atum created another eye to take the first one's place while she was gone. His second eye was more masculine than feminine and helped protect him against the threat of a pep quite effectively. I don't know, that's what it's alleged in these writings and tales and translations and encodings. If Atum could be able to combine both his eye If Atum could be able to combine both his eyes, and if Shu, along with Tefnut, was allowed to procreate, procreators, then the principle of gender could begin to truly take form and establish the universe. Right, I'm going to go and get a drink. If you would like to just do the same, because we've got some more pages to go. I'm going to get a drink. If you'd like to share the video and tell the... Thank you. Right then. Where did I get to? So the atom had created. Right, so if Atom could be able to combine both his eyes, and if Shu, along with Tefnut, was allowed to procreate, then the principle of gender could begin to truly take form and establish the universe. When Atum's first eye returned with Shu and Tefnut, guess what she saw? What did she see, fam? She saw that Atum had created a second eye. Offended, perhaps, a little bit of jealousy, anxious, angry, worried that she had been so easily replaced, even after her being out there assisting and helping Atum. He reunited with his children. Atum's first eye deserted him into the waters of the Nun. So after she helped him, be reunited with the children, she then deserted him. Atum watched her leave with his new eye. And again, he was stabbed by remorse. Faced one struggle after another, constant uphill pedaling, attack, skirmish, quandary. Look at this story so far. Hey, I hope you're enjoying it. He had to battle off a pep. He had lost his son and daughter, and after retrieving them, he had now lost his eye. His sight. Atum recognised that his cosmic plan of ushering in the process of creation, it wasn't going to be as easy and as straightforward as he intended it to be and first thought. He could not risk sending out his second eye to find the first eye. So what did he do here? Aye, aye, Captain, aye, aye. What did he do? He created another deity to locate his lost eye. Arise, Thoth. Then Thoth came into existence, and he was wisdom, along with many more traits and powers. This is the Egyptian name Thoth. Greek is Hermes Trismegistus. Okay, so Atum did not have to give Thoth any instruction, for Thoth knew exactly what his purpose was upon being created and manifested. Immediately after he came into existence, Thoth left to go and retrieve Atum's lost eye. Boom, Shankar, AI, cosmic, on it. Why did he not need to be told? Because his thoughts, he picked up on the thought, the vibration, he was created, he was manifested, and he went and did what he was born, to do without instruction. Note, since Atum's first eye knew all and could see all, this is a bit of a quandary, she was indeed aware that Thoth was going to try and bring her back to the father. She did not go easily though. Yet Thoth was pure wisdom and knew how to coerce, the eye. He spoke to the eye for a very, very long time. The two debated on why they had both been manifested into existence. They joked over the order of the, space that no mere mortal could ever hope to understand. Much time passed as Thoth and the eye formed a relationship. Thoth's thoughts had eventually convinced her that Atum could put both of his eyes to use and establish an equilibrium between them both. The eye, she had taken enough of a liking to Thoth, enough of being all-knowing as she was, had to admit that the words of Thoth made enough sense to indeed inspire a compromise. While Thoth was negotiating with the eye, while Thoth was negotiating with eye, Atum watched over Shu and Tefnut. Although they still lack proper sphere to induce any solidarity in the unmanifested universe. Atum told them to waste no more time interacting with each other. Go forth and multiply. No, he didn't. It's Shu and Tefnut followed their father's command and conceived two separate children. The first was Geb, who would become the Earth after a proper sphere of activity was located in the Nun. The second child of Shu and Tefnut was named Nut. She was similar to the Nun. She was a darkness that was destined to become the night sky. Even though Geb and the Nut were born, that's not space, that's the night sky. I'm not sure. If you ask me, is that space or is it the night sky to this realm? I'd say the night sky to this realm. Even though Geb and Nut were born, it had taken so long for Atum's first eye to return that nothing else was yet permitted and indeed allowed to be born after them. Geb and Nut were born intertwined with each other, and neither had any conception of what life without the other would be. Yin and Yang, that brings me to the shape of the Yin and the Yang, the 69. Geb and Nut created four of their own children while waiting for Atum's eye to return. Wow, that was a hardly filled time there. Let's go again. Geb and Nut, what did they do? They procreated four of their own children whilst waiting for Atum's eye. Top use of time there. They weren't in the warehouse clocking in, you see. They weren't submitting and etc. These four offspring, or young stars, were trapped inside Nut's womb. They would not be set free for some time, allowed to come into existence until Geb and Nut had separated. Then Thoth, thought, returned with the eye. Atum placed his first feminine eye on his brow, next to the second. The two eyes quickly realized that they were stronger together than apart, and from then on they worked together. Atum was so pleased with Thoth. Laws and intentions will be delivered all to you, so that you may organize them and convert them into laws that all of reality will follow. By doing this, Thoth, you will be the champion of order and truth. Thoth accepted his promotion with indeed grace and dignity. Now that Atum had both of his eyes and had created, there was only one final thing to fix before physical reality could be thrust into creation. Geb and Nut, they had to be separated forever, remain stuck inside Nut's womb. Atum ordered Shu to lift up Nut and separate her from her lover and brother Geb. Nut resisted, but Shu overpowered her and lifted her above Geb anyway. After Nut, the sky was removed from Geb. Matter started to fill the waters of the Nun. Planets started to form into being, and the first primordial mass that extended from Geb would be called the Earth, Gaia. Within Gaia, there would be a central point of beginning that would be called Egypt. I use that word loosely. Kemet is its correct, Egypt is its Greek title. Within this land of Egypt, all the children of Atum would finally have a place to perform their great work. You see, with writings and studies and things, what I notice is if this is allegedly come from the land of Kem, then the land of Kem didn't call themselves Egypt. Greece called Kem Egypt. So why would Kem writings have the word Egypt in them? It's the way that it's translated, and scholars get them, and scholars by dissonance and so forth write a 99.9% accurate document with the historical quandaries and comparisons too, but their own dissonance gets them, and they don't see the massive red error, tiny 0.01% that it is, but it's the naming of the academic industry itself refuses to allow these words and titles, Tartaria, etc., to come along, and they are wiped out from the timelines in an effort to Smithsonianize his story. So there you go. I use Egypt loosely for them reasons. Within this land of Kem, All the children of Atum would finally have place to perform their great work. Geb was the earth, and hanging above him was the sky of Nut. Between them was Shu, the air. Tefnut, the moisture, intermingled with all three of them and helped to establish the atmosphere of the planet Earth. Listen to that. The moisture intermingles with all three of them and helps to establish then the atmosphere. So moisture allows electricity to flow. Moisture allows certain things to happen, fogs and gases and GANs. After so much waiting and struggling, Atom's plans of creation was starting now to take a massive, stride of progress, shape and form. Structure is before the eyes. After Geb and Nut had become separated, the children inside Nut's womb were finally allowed to step into the world of creation. All at once, Isis, Nephthys, Osiris, and Set were born. Atum was very satisfied with three of the new forces, which were his grandchildren. Yet Set reminded him of a pet, and because of this, he was very wary of him, not weary, same word, different meanings. Even so, all the pieces were now in place for Atum to begin the culmination of his struggles after that fight and to get to this point. Yeah, it wasn't easy, okay? Things that you want don't come easy. If it comes easy, then, you've cheated, or that isn't your true path. You don't choose the path chooses man. Even so, all the pieces were now in place with an earth. Hey up. That's just I got disconnected. Along with the pantheon of gods to govern it, the land of Kem was almost ready to receive the gift that would be known as life. Thoth will govern the laws and truth. Shu is the air. I, Atum, will now come down and join you in the land of Kem. Atum made another being that was an exact yet more condensed version of himself. This new being was named Amun Ra, and he was the direct son of Atum, the son of God. This new form of Atum and Amun Ra, Moon Ra, Amun Ra, then created the shining sun that would hang over the sky of Nut. The first phase of manifestation had been completed. The land of Kem, Egypt, had now a sun. Yet the sun was so important that Amun Ra had chosen to govern that celestial luminary sphere by himself, instead of placing it in the hands of one of his children. Yes, that's right. He's done it. He's, one out done properly. Do it the sen. That's where that comes from. Being the direct son of Atum and being in control of the sun, and Amun Ra selected himself as the king of gods. Amun Ra told Isis and Nephthys that they were to act together as a second and darker light than the sun. This reflection of sunlight was also called the moon. Since life was about to begin, both Isis and Nephthys were also to help manage the process of death that was to follow the activity of life. They were also both given other powers and responsibilities, as well as including fertility and watching over the crops that life would need to sustain itself. Osiris was charged with governing fatality, but was given another very important task. Amun Ra told Osiris that he would soon create mankind, and Osiris was to be the leader of this new species. Then Amun Ra spoke to Set. Set was like a pet, remember, and Atum knew that there was nothing he could do to eradicate chaos permanently, so he told Set to be careful and not to let his fiery nature carry him too far astray. Taurians, listen up. Set was given control over storms and force of destruction. That was indeed likened to his true nature. Amun Ra then created more children. He gave birth to Mart, who would act as the living embodiment of the order. As long as Mart or Mat lived, so would order. She was to represent all that was good and true. Because of this, she was joined together with Thoth. Although in marriage, I've put Aphrodite because the Greeks joined Hermes Trismegistus with Aphrodite, and that's why you get a hermaphrodite in the mixture of sexes. Okay, so I've gone a little bit deep for you, and I've got the already from the Egyptian and to the Greek translation, as I've got bits of Greek family, and we speak to Costa, and I've had mans go out that are on based on Greek land with Greek blood, Greek lineage. I've looked at books and publications, and we've come across startling comparisons as other researchers and self-scholars, masters of the guild, have done. So Hermes and Aphrodite. So you got this embodiment of Mart, all right. So that is going to be, the wife then that's going along with Thoth rather than Hermes. So Thoth and Mart. Then Amun-Ra created a being with two aspects named Sekhmet, 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 or Hathor, Hathor. And if you take the Ha, you are left with Thor, Greek and Thor, but we're in Egypt, Chem here. So Hathor, Amun-Ra created a being with two aspects. It was named Sekhmet or Hathor, who could either spread infinite love or hatred, depending on what she saw fit. Sounds a bit like a Cupidy type, and another type of different gods there with loves and hates. And he then created Anubis, who would also play a pivotal role in governing the dead, along with Isis and Nephlis. Obviously, I've got the Mahabharata, the Gita, the Rig Vedas, the other gods in Indian before, way before Egypt, that don't be shouting out about, oh well, this isn't the first. No, I know, we know that long time ago, but what I'm saying is, have you heard this? That's it. With his pantheon now established, Amun-Ra then created all of the planets and animals. He was finally ready to create mankind. He was so stirred by the emotions of having created a pantheon of gods that then tears began to stream and fall from his very eyes. And these tears took the form was to give each of the gods and goddesses a form to represent them all. Of the gods were given bodies like mortal men and women. Some were given the heads of animals. Thoth was given the head of an ibis. Hathor could take on the head of either a cow or lion. Anubis was given the head of a jackal. Mart could take either the form of a woman or a feather. You can be a woman or a feather. The choice is yours. Let's try again. With this pantheon established, Amun-Ra then created all of the planets and animals. He was finally ready to create now mankind. He was so stirred by the emotions of having created a pantheon of gods that tears began to fall from his eyes, and these tears took the form as first man of woman in Egypt. The first man and woman of Egypt. Whoa, man. Amun-Ra's final act before taking the helm of the sun was to give each of the gods, I've got that, heads, yes, alright. Anubis was given the head of a jackal, woman or feather. Set was given a composite form that was comprised of a dog, a fox, since he was a manifestation of chaos which had no standard form. For himself, Amun Ra selected the head of a hawk, but he could also change into any shape he wanted whenever he indeed desired. No matter what form Amun Ra would don, no matter what form, he would don, there would always be a beacon of light shining above the crown of his skull. Amun Ra then boarded a ship, okay, that could carry the sun. This is a cosmic ship, I suppose. It's not just any ship, spaceship, vessel, okay, but the word that's been translated here is Amun Ra then boarded a ship that could carry the sun through two 12-stage cycles, which he dubbed as the hours, or Horus, same letters, different way, Horus, hours. There were 24 of them in total. You look at the horizon, that's Horus rising on, horizon, hours, easy peasy. He then left his children to govern the new species of man with Osiris as their leader. To be continued, this is, I'm not finishing here, but it does kind of finish and start sloping off. What is the difference between the Egyptian gods Ra and Amun Ra? You have Ra is an ancient Egyptian god known as the sun god, who was believed to have created, all forms of life. Ra was associated with the moon, with noon, day, sun, and eventually rose to a major deity. In the ancient Egyptian religion during the 5th dynasty of the 25th and 24th centuries BC. Eventually, Ra was joined with god Horus and became known as Ra Horakati. Ra Horakati was associated with the falcon and the hawk and was said to have created the sky, the earth, and as well the underworld. His name translates to Ra, who is Horus of two horizons. Then during the New Kingdom, the god known as Amun became a prominent figure and eventually was merged with Ra. Together, they were known as Amun Ra from that time and space. By the 18th dynasty, an ancient Egyptian pharaoh known as Akhenaten altered the Egyptian religion by abandoning Ra, following the god known as Aten, which was the disk of the sun in ancient Egyptian mythology. The ancient people of Egypt, did not take their change favourably, and after Akhenaten's death, many of his statues, as well as the statutes of Aten, Aten, were hidden out of sight, defaced and or destroyed. In present day, like the face of the Sphinx, that's kind of the, I wasn't there, I weren't born, but I can read between and see how kind of you got a bit of, in present, your face too big for me boo. It was sceptered back in the day of face, your Sphinx face ain't too big for me boo, bosh, It's just nothing, there ain't nothing new under the sun, as we're showing you, fam. In present day, Amun Ra is one of the most widely known of the ancient Egyptian gods, alongside obviously what we've mentioned, Osiris, Anubis, and Isis. You've got here ancient Kush sun worshippers and patriarchs. You've got Amun Ra coming from Nubian Neteru, Amani, Arman, Amani, hyphen Ra, who is the hidden one, also called Lusat or something, to Lusayet. Indoctrinarian says Lusaset is only wife to Amun, which is all based on possibly lies, I don't know. Ancient Egyptians seem to have been some kind of moon worshipper and nocturnal people. Ra isn't possibly a Neteru and not associated with any beings. He is what you could call a demiurge, Ra is also not an eagle, hawk, nor falcon, nor scarab. The scarab was sacred because it carried away the sun and allowed the ancient Kushites to see it. You check the advanced particle matrix research, and when I saw them with the scarab on the systems of the sun, cherubims and halos and so forth. I thought it's time, everything's synchronizing nicely. It's there for you to see. Both are the same, and some, reptilian demonic entities called Nimrod and Tammuz, while you got Sirius, Isis, and Ishtar, dragon, Satan. You got Babylon establishing past Mesopotamia, present day Iraq used to worship three main deities. Specifically, those were Ishtar and Inanna. Easter is celebrated from this, time demonic, allegedly connected beast. You need to look at Nimrod and their son Tammuz, which is Tammuz, to keep everything in context for the ones on the chat and the ones that are advanced in this. Those living in Babylon were Nephilim, reptilian giant sons of dragons, Satans, and daughters of a man, also called Anunnaki. Like Goliath, who was a giant that was killed by Jewish tribes, King David, there was a war in the land of Israel, Kin. Amun and Ra were originally separate deities, Amun meaning more or less, the hidden one. Ra simply means sun. Amun was originally a creator god and Ra a sun god. You see how this ties back into what I said in the beginning part now. So Amun-Ra is a result of merging the two deities in order to give them a new meaning and importance, like the arbitrary injection of a foreign dialogue into Anglo-Saxon speak. Similar thing going on, dictionaries, define definitions, and etc. Giving them new meaning and importance, and was quite common in Egyptian religion. It's not clear when that combination happened, but usually the New Kingdom around 1550 to 1077 BCE is where I'm looking, relatively late. Merging of Amun and Ra resulted in creator sun god worship mainly in Thebes. The deity also was frequently named king of the god. Ra, known as the first creator of Egypt, which later on being helped by other gods of creation in Egypt. One among them that have close connection to him is Amun. Amun was a member of, how do I say that, Ogdod, representing creation energies, with Amunet, a very easy patron of Thebes. He was believed to create via breath, and thus was identified with the wind rather than the sun. As the cults of Amun and Ra became increasingly popular in the Upper and Lower Egypt, respectively, they were combined to create Amun-Ra, a solar creator god. It is hard to distinguish exactly when this combination happened, but refer, and then I've got some more notes here, carry on. And I've got some ancient history and mythology, and research all of Egypt, and you will find I've got some prints of a bird man holding up a snake. It's almost like a Masters of the Universe and Thundercats type imagery. As one of Thoth, some brilliant artwork, fantastic artwork. Ra, Atum, known to be sun god, supreme lord of the gods, creator of life and the human race. He was the supreme creator of the gods and the ruler of both the living and the dead. The father of Shu, the air god, and Tefnut, goddess of moisture and rain. He was the first celestial divine being to stand on the primordial mound of chaos, create life and order instead. His duty was to protect the universe from the primordial serpent Apophis, 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 yeah. He looked like a child in the morning, an adult in high noon, and an old man in the evening. He also had the head of a hawk and a solar disc on top of his head. Indeedy, a gold disc on top. Could just do with some gold discs right now, couldn't we? Ra was the sun god and most popular in Lower Egypt, and the people of Upper Egypt linked Ra with their own god, Amun, and so both gods became to be known as Amun Ra. So first Ra and Amun were different. Um, Ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. Ancient Egyptian gods, over the course of thousands of years, the pharaonic civilization was closely related to religion, as historians considered it as one of the most important foundations of the establishment of Egyptian civilization. More than 5,000 years ago, and one of the pillars of the founding and unification of the Egyptian state. The worship of the various Egyptian deities confirmed for more 3,000 years, that is, the symbols of the Egyptian deities were worshipped in a time frame that exceeds the age of the Egyptians, condemning Christianity and Islam combined. Nearly 2,800 deities worshipped in Egypt with the different names and symbols of all forces of nature. The most prominent and important of them are Ra, Egyptian god; Amun, Osiris; Isis, Horus; Aten, Hathor; Nut, Geb, Set, Sekhmet, Sobek, Bastret, Anubis, and Thoth. So then I've got pictures to denote all of those. I think there's 15 there, gods, and pictures of them and symbols and a little bit of a breakdown. So that's it, we're finished. That's my order versus chaos, and your little distraction for your Sunday. Yesterday was the Sabbath and Sunday for me. Today's day one of the week, not day 7. My calendar and times are a little bit different to most, but thank you for joining. That was definitely different and enjoyable. In the beginning, there was Jack. Jack had a groove, and here is that groove. Did you like it? Let's say hello to the fam. Let's go, Stephen. I think you're on who I got his fly. I got to about there. Quinn. Stephen, Quinn, Fly, Freeman. 007, Kennedy. I think I got an idea who that may be. The Woman operating that legal interface person. Anders. David have found Nirvana, the eternal calm and inner silence. Respect, you're not far wrong there, Anders. Jones is in the house. Yeah, I've sorted it. We'll be back later with Kev. We'll be having a catch up, so I'm going to be doing a bit of admin, emails, chatting. We'll be back. I'll be joining with Kev. Up.com update. I did some heavy meditation yesterday. I had a full day. As the Sabbath, yesterday's my Sabbath. I had a full day looking after the fam, sorting stuff out, locking down the castle, and things, private, duties sorted. And then I text Kev and updated the .com and said we'll call it off tonight. I'm too relaxed and enjoying the private family time, and so I'm preparing for a busy week commencing as of now forward. This day one for me, so this is why I've done what I did yesterday, and now we'll go live tonight and be back later. We will be on it. I'd say that everybody is now using the lines data networks, and we've got some I've done PDF and get some. It will go on the list to be done, but you'll have this printed up at some point very soon. All right. Safe, how we doing? Jerry. Eric. We're all good. We're all sorted. Yeah, it keeps going off and online. I'm sat in the same room as where the router is, which is bad for me but good for the connection, and it's still going on and off. So it's beyond my control and capability. It's just busy networks. Thank you all, fam. I hope you share that with ones that you love, and in times of discontentment, confusion, anxiety, that story should it's got a lot of layers in there. You see, I tried to help you out with some possible analogies and comparable extrapolations that you can take from them stories, and layers from within, like you can the other testaments, and the publication that's from, the translation of I forget now, Kabbalion era orientated, with Dorial translation, and like I say, the hymns of Hermes. And I had made some interesting notes and pictures and scribbles next to it for me to put together whilst we was looking at Justinian, Constantine 325 0 to 2020 New World Translation Testament, going from Torah, acropophic Greek text, Hebrew, phonetic. Really, Hebrew's got to be Phoenician, as Jordan has pointed out. Degree then, because he is the leader. So lots are going with the books and Bibles and edits and stories and timelines. And it was the Romans that came along and said, hello, Egyptians. And then the Romans forward of 0, and Constantine, the Josephus, Joseph at will, Caesar's Messiah, clarity, 2020 vision. Job done, bish bash bosh. Thank you all, much love, and ciao for now.